introduction of the Laramie Project. We're so grateful to have you here. This play tells an important story, one that asks us to listen, to reflect, and to remember. At its heart, the Laramie Project is about community, how we come together in times of tragedy, and how we move forward with empathy and understanding. We'd like to take a moment to recognize a few of our incredible partner organizations doing meaningful work in the ongoing fight for equality, compassion, and justice. Thank you to the Human Rights Campaign, the Resource Center, and the Matthew Shepard Foundation. We encourage you to learn more about their mission and support them however you can. They continue to make a difference every day. Remember to silence your phones, and as always, thank you for supporting live theater and for being a part of this conversation with us. Now please, sit back and join us as we share the Laramie Project.
Year-old Matthew Shepard remains in critical condition after being left for dead in a field. 2 men are under arrest. Their girlfriends are also charged as accessories.
It was last Wednesday when a passerby found Shepard tied to this fence near Laramie, Wyoming, badly beaten, left for dead.
The community coming together in outrage, knowing the whole thing well, and what happened in Wyoming. It just easily has happened here.
Matt Shepard, the gay college student savagely beaten last week in Wyoming, died this morning. He had been tied to a fence for just a little and left without. Suspect.
On November 14, 1998, the members of the Tectonic Theater Project traveled to Laramie, Wyoming to conduct interviews with the people of the town. During the next year, we would return to Laramie several times and conduct over 200 interviews. The play you are about to see was edited from those interviews, as well as from journal entries by members of the company and other found texts. Company member Greg Rodman.
My first interview was with Detective Sergeant He of the Laramie Police Department. At the start of the interview, he was sitting behind his desk, sitting something like this. I was born and raised here. My family is a 3rd generation. My grandparents moved here in the early 1900s. We have basically 3, my daughter make it 4 generations. Quite a while. It's a good place to live. Good people, lots of space. You see, all the towns in southern Wyoming are laid out in space because the railroad came through. It was as far as they could go before having to refuel and rewater, and Laramie was a big stopping point. It's why all the towns are spaced apart. We're one of the largest states in the country and least populated.
There is so much space between people and towns here. So much time for reflection.
Rebecca Hilliker, head of the theater department at the University of Wyoming.
You have an opportunity to be happy in your life here. I found the people here were so much nicer than they were in the Midwest where I used to teach because they were happy. They were glad if the sun was shining. And it shines a lot here.
What you have is your old-time, traditional-type ranchers. Well, they've been here forever. Laramie's a hub where they come for their supplies and stuff like that.
Stewardship is one thing all our ancestors taught us.
Eileen Engen, rancher.
Now, if you don't take care of your land, then you ruin it and you lose your living. So you first of all have to do everything you can to improve it.
I love it here.
Doc O'Connor, limousine driver.
You couldn't put me back in that mess out there back east. Best thing about it is the climate. Cold, the wind. They say a Wyoming wind will drive a man insane, but you know what? It don't bother me. Well, some of the times it bothers me, but most of the times it don't.
And then you got the university population.
I lived here after moving from a couple of big cities. Philip Dubois, president of the University of Wyoming.
I loved it there. It must be crazy to let your kids out after dark. And here, in the summertime, my kids play out till 11 o'clock at night. I don't think twice about it.
And then you have the people who live in Laramie, basically.
I moved here from rural Texas.
Zach DeSalmon, Laramie resident.
Now, in Laramie, if you don't know a person, then you definitely know somebody they know. So it can only be 1 degree removed at most. And for me, I love it. I go to the grocery store because I get to visit with 4 or 5 or 6 people every time I go. And I don't really mind people knowing my business. Because what's my business? My business is basically good.
I like the trains too. They don't bother me. Well, some of the times they bother me. But most of the times they don't. Even though one goes by for 13 minutes out where I live.
Doc actually lives up in Bosworth, but everyone in Laramie knows him. He's actually not really a doctor.
I used to carry cattle and trains. Now I carry dollars, cars.
I grew up in Cody, Wyoming.
April Silva, university student.
Laramie is better than where I grew up. I'll give it that.
It's a good place to live. Good people. Lots of space. And you see, when the incident happened with that boy, a lot of press people came in. And one time they followed me out to the crime scene. Boy, it was a beautiful day. Absolutely gorgeous day. It was clear and crisp and it was just gorgeous. The sky was that blue you could never paint. Just sky blue. And the mountains in the background with a little snow on them. Well, there was this reporter, lady person that was there, and she said,
Well, who found the boy? Who was out here?
I said, well, this is a real popular place for people to run. Mountain biking is big out here, horseback riding, it's all close to town. She looked at me and she said,
Who in the hell would want to run out here?
and I'm thinking, lady, you are just missing the point. All you gotta do is stop and turn around, look at the mountains, smell the air, listen to the birds, just take in what's around you. But they were nothing but the story. I didn't feel judged. I felt they were stupid. They're missing the point. They're just missing the whole point.
It's hard to talk about Laramie now. What Laramie means for us.
Jedediah Schultz.
If you asked me before, I would have told you. Laramie is a beautiful town. Secluded enough to have your own identity. A town with strong community. Everyone knows everyone. A town with personality that most larger cities are stripped of. But now, Laramie is a town defined by an accident. A crime. We become Jasper. We become Wake Up. We're a noun, a definition, a sign. I think we can get rid of that, but it'll sure take a while.
Journal entries. Members of the company. Andy Paris.
Voice call told me an idea for his next theater project, that there was a somberness in his voice. So I asked him to tell me what it's all about. He told me he wanted to do a piece about what's happening in Wyoming.
Stephen Belver.
Lee told me the company was thinking of going out to Laramie to conduct interviews, and that they wanted me to come. But I'm hesitant. I have no real interest in prying into a town's unraveling.
Amanda Gromich. I've never done anything like this in my life. How do you get people to talk to you?
What do you ask?
Moises Kaufman.
The company has decided that we should go to Laramie and interview people. I'm a bit afraid about taking 10 people on a trip of this nature. Must make some safety rules. No one works alone. Everyone carries a cell phone. Have made some preliminary contacts with Rebecca Hilliker, head of the theater department at the University of Wyoming. She has promised to host a party for us our first night in Laramie and will introduce us to possible interviewees.
I must tell you, when I first heard you were thinking of coming here when you first called me, I wanted to say, you just kicked me in the stomach. Why are you doing this to me? But then I thought, that's stupid. You're not doing this to me. And more importantly, I thought about it and decided, we've had so much negative closure on this whole thing, and the students really need to talk. When this started, they started talking about it, and then the media descended, and all dialogue stopped. You know, I really love my students. They are free thinkers. And you may not like what they have to say, and you may not like their opinions, because they can be very redneck, but they are honest and they are truthful. So there's an excitement here. There's a dynamic here that I never had before in the Midwest or in North Dakota, because there was so much Puritanism that dictated how people looked at the world, that a lot of times they didn't have an opinion. You couldn't get them to express an opinion. Quite honestly, I'd rather have opinions I don't like and have that dynamic in education. There's a student I think you should talk to. His name is Jedediah Schultz.
I lived in Wyoming my whole life. My family's been in Wyoming for generations. When it came time for college, my parents couldn't afford to send me to college. I wanted to study theater, and I knew if I was going to go to college, I'd have to get in on a scholarship. And now there's this competition each year, this Wyoming State High School competition. And I knew if I didn't take first place in a duet, that I wasn't going to get in on a scholarship. So I went to the university looking for good scenes. I asked the professor, I was like, I need a killer scene. And he was like, here you go. This is it. It was from Angels in America. And I read it. And I knew if I did a good enough job, I would take first place. So when it came time for the competition, I told my parents, now you have to understand, my parents put at everything, at every ball game, every hockey game, everything I've ever done. But they put me into the room and they sat me down and they said if I did that scene, they would not come see me in the competition. That they believed it was wrong, that homosexuality is wrong. They believed that strongly, that they wouldn't come see their son do probably the most important thing he had done at that point in his life. And I didn't know what to do. I had never, ever gone against my parents' wishes, so I didn't know what to do. But I decided to do it. And now, I don't remember much of the competition except when me and my scene partner were done, we came together and we shook hands, and there was a standing ovation. Man, it was amazing! And we took first place and we won. That's how come I can afford to go to university. Because of that scene. And my parents weren't there. And to this day, it's the one thing my parents hadn't seen. And looking back, I think, why did I do it? Why did I go against my parents' wishes? Because I'm not gay. So why did I do it? And if I had to give an honest answer, I'd say, I wanted to win! It was such a good scene. It was the best scene. Do you know Mr. Kushner? You can tell.
Company member Greg Barati.
We arrived today in the Denver airport and drove to Laramie. The moment we crossed the Wyoming border, I swear I saw a herd of buffalo. I also thought it was strange that the Wyoming sign said,
Wyoming, like no place on earth.
Instead of Wyoming, like no place else on earth.
Company member Lee Vandekowski.
I stopped at the local inn for a bite to eat, and the waitress said to me,
Hi, my name is Debbie. Now, I was born in 1954, and Debbie Reynolds was Big Ben. And so, yes, there's a lot of us around, but I promise I won't slap you if you leave your elbows on the table.
The company tried to explain to me to no avail what chicken fried steak was.
So, are you from Wyoming, or are you just passing through?
we're just passing through.
Company member Barbara Pitts.
We arrived in Laramie tonight. Just past the Welcome to Laramie sign, population 26,687. The first thing to greet us was Walmart. In the dark, you could be on any main drag in America, fast food chains, gas stations. But as we drove into the downtown area by the railroad tracks, the building still looked like a turn-of-the-century western town. Oh, and as we passed the university inn, on the sign were amenities such as heated pool or cable TV are usually touted. It said hate is not a Laramie value.
Company member Greg Barati.
I met today with two longtime Laramie residents, Allison Mears and Marge Murray, two social service workers who taught me a thing or two.
Well, what Laramie used to be like when Marge was growing up, mostly rural.
In your all-togethers?
Well, yeah, honey, why wear clothes?
No, how can you use that in your
So this was a big ranching town.
Oh, not just ranching. This was a big old railroad town at one time before they moved everything to Cheyenne and Green River and Omaha. It's just a drive-through spot for the railroad. Because what was it in the 50s? You know, they had one big roundhouse, and they had such a shop there, you could build a complete engine.
They did. My mom went there.
Your mom worked in a roundhouse?
Yeah, I was saying. She worked there and she washed engines. We used to, her name was Minnie. We used to sing that song to her, you know, that song.
What song?
Well, okay. Run into the roundhouse, Minnie. They can't corner you there.
But Wyoming is bad in terms of jobs. I mean, the university has their big, high, whoop-de-doo jobs, but Wyoming, I mean, unless you're a professional, the bulk of the people here are working the minimum wage jobs.
Yeah, I've been either in the service industry or bartending most of my life. Now I know everybody in town.
Oh, and she does.
And I do. Now that I tell you, here in Laramie, there is a difference and there always has been. What it is a class distinction. It's about the well-educated and the ones who are not. And the educated don't understand why the ones who are not don't get educated. That's why I told you before that my kids all had a fight because their mother was a bartender. Never mind, I was the best damn bartender in town.
Oh, and she was.
That's not bragging, that's facts.
Well, here in Laramie, before for the university, we would just be SOL.
What's SOL?
Or really, it's shit out of luck. Lordy, you got that on your tape? Oh boy, you got an education today.
Yeah, I guess I am. So, let me ask you, what was your reaction when this happened to Matthew Shepard?
Well, I tell you, I've been around here for a long time, and I have a daughter who's on the sheriff's department. As far as a gay issue, I don't give a damn one way or the other, as long as it don't bother me. And that, even if they did, I just say no, thank you. And that's the attitude of most of the Laramie population. They may poke one if they weren't of our situation, you know, they would break it. They might actually smack one in the mouth, but then they just walk away. Most of them said they just say, I don't swing that way, and then whistle on about their business. Laramie is live and let live.
Well, I'd say that Marge probably knows a lot more, except she didn't want to say, and well, we gotta respect her for that.
Well, where are you going with that story?
Well, we haven't decided yet. When we finish, we want to bring it around to Laramie.
Well, okay then. There are parts I won't tell you.
Company member Andy Paris. Today, for the first time, we talked to someone who actually knew Matthew Shepard. Trish Steger, owner of a shop in town, referred to him as Matt.
Matt used to come into my shop. That's how I knew him.
It was the first time I heard you referred to as Matt instead of Matthew. Did you go by Matt to everyone?
Well, on the 2nd of October, I get a phone call about 10 after 7.
Doc O'Connor.
It was Matthew Shepard. He says, can you pick me up on the corner of 3rd and Grand? So anyhow, I pull up to the corner to see who. Matthew Shepard, you know. It's a little guy. He's about 5'2". Soaking wet, I bet you 97 pounds tops. They say he weighed 110, but I wouldn't believe it. They also say he was 5'5" in the newspapers, but this man is really only about 5'2", maybe 5'1". So he walks up to the window and, okay, I'm going to try and go in steps so you can better understand the principle of this man. So he walks up to the window and I say, you Matthew Shepard? And he says, yeah, Matthew Shepard, but I don't want you to call me Matthew or Mr. Shepard. I want you to call me anything. My name is Matt, and I want you to know that I'm gay and we're going to go to a gay bar. Do you have a problem with that? And I said, how are you paid? Fact is, Laramie, they have gay bars. And for that matter, neither does Wyoming. So, he was hired for me to take him down to Fort Collins, Colorado, about an hour away. Matt was even the one with the shits. You know what I'm saying? He always was. But I liked him because he was straightforward. You see what I'm saying? Maybe gay, but straightforward. You see what I'm saying?
I don't know, how does any one person tell about another? You really should have talked to my sister Romaine. She's a very good friend of mine.
We never called him Matthew, actually. Most of the time, we just called him Juju. Because we used to call him Matthew, and then we started calling him Juju.
Whenever I think of Matthew, I always think of,
His incredible beaming smile. He'd walk in and he'd be like, he'd smile at everyone. He made you feel great. Oh, and he would stare people down at the coffee shop because he always wanted to see the end seat so he could talk to me while I was working. So if someone was sitting in that seat, he would just sit there and stare them down until they left. Then he would claim the spot. Matthew definitely had a political side to him. He always wanted to get into political affairs. All his big interest was watching CNN and MSNBC. Those were the only two stations I ever saw his TV tuned into. Yeah, he was really smart in political affairs. But not so smart on common sense things. So he moved to Laramie to go to school.
Matthew was very shy when he first came in.
John Peacock, Matthew Shepard's athletic advisor.
To the point of being somewhat mousy, I would understand. He was having some difficulties adjusting, but this was home for him, and he made that quite clear. And so this mousiness, his shyness, gave way to a person who was excited about this track he was about to embark. He was just figuring out, wanting to work on human rights, how he was going to do that. And when that happens, this person begins to bloom. He was starting to say, wow, there are opportunities here. There are things I can do in this world. I can be important.
Did you hear from Matthew? About 48 hours before he was hacked. He told me he just joined the gay lesbian group on campus. He was really enjoying it, and they were getting ready for Pride. Yeah, he was totally stoked about school. He was really happy about being there.
And in retrospect, and I can only say this in retrospect, of course, I think that's where he was headed, towards human rights, which only adds to the irony and the tragedy of all this.
Let me tell you something else here. There's more gay people in Wyoming than meets the eye. I know for a fact. They are particularly the what do you call them? The queens. The gay people. Queens. Run around faggot type people. Oh no, they're the ones that throw bail, hey, jump on horses, brand them and kick ass. You see what I'm saying? Oh, like I always say, don't fuck with a Wyoming queer, because they will kick you in your fucking ass. But that's not the point of what I'm trying to say. I know a lot of gay people in Wyoming. I know a lot of people, period. I've been lived out here some 40-odd years. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think Wyoming people give a damn one way or another if you're gay or straight. That's just what I just said. It doesn't matter. If there's 8 men and 1 woman in a Wyoming bar, which is often the case, you stop and think, who's getting wood? You see what I'm saying? Now, gee, it don't take no big intelligent mind to figure that one out.
My understanding when I first came here is that I was the first out lesbian or gay faculty member on campus. And that was in 1992, so that wasn't that long ago. I was asked at my interview what my husband did. So I came out and Do you want a funny story? When you first get here as a faculty member, there's all these things you have to do. And so I was in my office and I noticed that this woman called. I was expecting it was a health insurance phone call, something like that. And so I called her back. And I could hear her, she's working on her keyboard and clicking away. I said, this is Kathy Connolly returning your phone call. And she said, oh, it's you. And I thought, this is bizarre. And she said, I hear you're gay. I hear you are. I was like, uh-huh. And she said, I hear you came as a couple. I want to, not a couple, just a person. And so she was the kind of lesbian who knew that I was coming and she wanted to come over and meet me immediately. And she later told me that there were other lesbians that she knew that wouldn't be seen, that I would irreparably take them, that just to be seen with me could be a problem.
When I came here, I knew it was going to be hard as a gay man.
Jonas Slaughter.
But I kept telling myself people should live where they want to live. And there are times I'd go down to Denver and I'd go to the gay bars and people would ask me where I'm from. And I'd say, Laramie, Wyoming. And I met so many men down there from Wyoming. So many men who grew up here. And they're like, well, that's not a place I could live. How could you live there? I had to get out. Goo. But there will always be a guy. Oh gosh, I miss Laramie. I mean, I really love it there. That's where I want to live. And they get this starry-eyed look, and I'm like, if that's where you want to live, then do it. Imagine if more gay people stayed in small towns. But easier said than done, of course.
Today, we are moving from our hotel and heading for the Best Western.
Moises Kaufman.
My hope is that it is a better Western.
Today we divided up to go to different churches in the community. Moises and I were given a Baptist church. We were welcomed into the services by the Reverend himself standing at the entrance to the chapel. This is what I remember of the sermon that morning.
My dear brothers and sisters, I am here today to bring you the word of the Lord. There is a simple truth I tell to all of my colleagues, and I'm going to tell it to you today. The word is either sufficient or it is not. Scientists tell me that human history, that the world is 5 billion or 6 billion years old. After all, what's a billion years, give or take? The Bible tells me that human history is 6,000 years old. The word is either sufficient or it is not.
Ah, the sociology of religion in the West.
Stephen B. Johnson, Unitarian minister.
Dominant religious traditions in this town. Baptist, Mormon, they're everywhere. It's not just Salt Lake, you know. They're all over. They're like jam on toast down here.
The Mormon church is a little different thing going on that irritates some folks.
Doug Laws, state ecclesiastical leader for the Mormon church.
And that is that we believe that God still speaks to man. We don't think that can happen. Some folks wrote down the Bible. God speaks to us today, and we believe that. We believe the prophet of the church is the authority to seek inspiration and divination from God.
And so, on the spectrum, on the left side of that panel, so far left that I am probably sitting by myself, is me and the Unitarian Church. Unitarians are, by and large, humans, many of whom are atheists. I mean, we're not even sure we're a religion. and to the right of me on that spectrum, to his credit, Father Roger, Catholic priest, who is well established here, and God bless him, he did not equivocate at all when this happened. He hosted the vigil for Matthew that night.
I was very jolted because when we did the vigil, we wanted to get other ministers involved, and we called some of them. But they were not going to get involved. It was like, we're just going to sit back and wait and see which way the wind is blowing. And that angered me immensely. We're supposed to stand out as leaders. I thought, wow, what is going on here?
God has set boundaries, and one of our responsibilities is to learn what is it that God wants. So you read the scripture, you look to your leaders, then you figure out what the bounds are. Once you get a feel for what's in bounds, then you get a feel for what's out of bounds. There's a proclamation I made on the family. A family is defined as one woman, one man, and children. That's a family. That's about as clear as you can state it. There is no sexual deviation in the Mormon Church, no. No means outrageous things have boundaries.
I warn you, you will be mocked. You will be ridiculed for the singularity of your faith. But you let the Bible be your guide. It's in there. It's all in there.
The conservative pastors, they were silent on this. Conservative Christians like to use the Bible to show everyone, it says here in the Bible. And most Americans, they believe and they do that the Bible is the Word of God. And how are you going to fight that?
I'm a biblicist, which means the Bible does not need me to make it true. The Bible is true whether I believe in it or not. The Word is either sufficient or it is not.
On September 15th, I moved to Laramie, Wyoming, and looked around. Tumbleweeds, cement factory, and thought to myself, what in the hell am I doing in Wyoming? 3 weeks later, I found out what the hell I'm doing in Wyoming.
I had breakfast this morning with a university student named Zubaydah Ullah. She's an Islamic feminist who likes to do things her own way.
I've lived in Laramie since I was 4. Yeah. My parents are from Bangladesh. 2 years ago, because I'm Muslim, I decided to start wearing a scarf. That's really changed my life in Laramie. Yeah. Like, people will say things to me like, why do you have to wear that thing on your head? Like, when I go to the grocery store, I'm not supposed to give people Islam 101, right? So, I'll be like, well, it's part of my religion. And they'll be, this is the worst part, because they'll be like, I know it's part of your religion, but why? And it's, how am I supposed to go into the whole doctrine of physical modesty and my own spiritual relationship with the Lord standing there with my pumping chips? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's so unreal to me that, yeah, that a group from New York would be writing a play about Laramie. And then I was picturing, like, you're going to be in a play about my town. You're going to be on stage in New York, and you're going to be acting like you're us. That's so weird.
Yes, hello, my name is Amanda Gronich, and I'm here in Laramie working with a theater company. I went to the Reverend to your husband's church on Sunday, and I was extremely interested in speaking with him about his thoughts about recent events.
Oh, well, I don't think he'll want to talk to you. See, he has a very biblical views about homosexuality. Well, he doesn't even know that kind of violence, but he doesn't even know that kind of lifestyle, you know what I mean? And he was just bombarded with the press after this happened, and the media's just been, well, terrible about this whole thing.
Oh, I completely understand. I really do. It must have been just terrible.
Oh, yes, I think we're all just hoping this all just goes away.
Well, do you think I could call back later and speak with your husband just briefly?
Well, all right, you can call me back tonight at 9 o'clock.
Okay. so much. I'll be back.
Today, Barbara and I went to the Fireside Bar, which was the last place Matt was seen in public.
The Fireside. Definitely feels like a college bar with a couple of pool tables and a stage area for karaoke night. But still, the few regulars in the late afternoon were hardly the college crowd.
The first person we talked to was Matt Nicholson, the owner.
My great-great-grandfather moved to Laramie in 1862. He owned Laramie's first opera house. It's called the Open in front. Then in 1870, Alicia Grandma Swain is the first female ballot in any free election in the world. And that's why Wyoming's equality state. So my idea is to reestablish my bar business as the Old Blue Front Opera House with good time and pouring. I'm a restaurant. I'm a pool hall and give some on all that shit. And every night, ladies' night. So the Fireside's my first step. The Old Blue Front Opera House with good time and pouring.
So, what about the night Matthew Shepard was here?
We had karaoke that night. About 20 or 30 people a year. Matthew Shepard came in. He was about right here sitting. He's kind of hanging out. Look, if you want to talk to someone, you should talk to Matt Galloway. You should get those bartending here that night. You have to scare your face for himself. Hey, is Galloway bartending tonight?
Okay, I'm gonna make it brief, quick, get it over. But it will be everything, factual, just the facts. Here we go. 10 o'clock, I clock in, usual time Tuesday nights. 10:30, Matthew Shepard shows up alone, sits down towards the hydrant.
Bill Agree, friend of Matthew Shepard.
Matt likes to drink Heineken and nothing else. Heineken. Even though you have to pay $9.50 for a six-pack, he always buys the same beer.
So what can I tell you about Matt? If you had 100 customers like him, it'd be the most perfect bar I've ever been, okay? Ain't nothing to do with sexual orientation. Absolute mannerisms. Manners, politeness, intelligence, taking care of you, as it takes. Everything. Conversation, dress nice, clean cut. Some people you just know. Sits down, please, oh thank you. Offers intellect, within their vocabulary. So he gets it there. He doesn't have any worries or like he's looking for anyone. Just enjoy his drink and the company around. Now, approximately 11:30, Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson come. I didn't know the name's name, but they're the accused. The perks. They're accused. So they walked in just very stone-faced, dirty, grungy, rude, giddy, that type of thing. Then they walked up to the bar and, as you know, paid for a pitcher with dimes and quarters, which is something you don't forget. $5.50 of dimes and quarters? That's a freaking nightmare. Now, Henderson and McKinney, they didn't seem intoxicated at all. They came in, they sorted the beer, took the pitcher with them back there into the pool room, and kept to themselves. Next thing I knew, probably a half hour later, they were kind of walking around, no beer. And I remember thinking to myself that I'm not going to ask them if they want another one, because obviously they just paid for a pitcher with dimes and quarters. I have a real good feeling they don't have any more money.
Romaine Patterson.
Money had nothing to help you, because he came from a lot of it,
And he would hand over his wallet in 2 seconds because money meant nothing. His shoes might have meant something. Well, they can say it was a robbery, but I don't buy it for even an iota of a second.
And a few moments later, I looked over and Aaron and Russell were talking to Matthew Shepard.
Well, Aaron said that a guy walked up to him and said that he was gay and wanted to get with Aaron and Russ.
Kristen Price, girlfriend of Aaron McKinney.
And then he got aggravated with it and said that he was straight, wanted nothing to do with him, and walked off. He said that is when he and Russ went to the bathroom and decided to pretend that they were gay to get into the truck and rob him.
Okay, no. They stated that Matt approached them, that he came on to them. I absolutely, positively disbelieve and refute the statement 100%. Refute. I give you 2 reasons why. 1, character reference. Why would he approach them? Why them? He wasn't approaching anybody else in the bar. They say he's gay. He was a flaming gay. But he's going to come on to people like that. Bullshit. He never came on to me. Hello! He's going to territorialism is the word. I will use for this. And that's because Matt was sitting there. Russell and Eric were in the pool area. Upon their first interaction, they were in Matt's area. The area that Matt was sitting all night. So who approached who, Mike?
But Matthew's the kind of person, like, he would never not talk to anyone for any reason, you know? If someone walked up to him, he'd just be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. You know, he never had any problem striking up a conversation with anybody.
Matt did feel lonely a lot of times, and me knowing that and knowing how vulnerable Matt could be, he would have walked right into it. The fact that he was at the bar alone without any friends made him that much more vulnerable.
So the only thing, and this is what I'm testifying to, because, you know, I'm basically the key eyewitness in the case. Basically, what I'm testifying to is that I saw Matthew. I saw two individuals sleep with Matthew. Now, I didn't see the faces, but I saw the back of their heads. At the same time, McKinney and Henderson were no longer around. You do that.
Actually, I think the DJ was the last person to see him that night. Gave him a cigarette or something on his way out. His name is Shadow.
I was the last person to talk to Matt before he left the fireside. I was just bullshitting around my shit and stopped. Matt stopped him, actually. And he's like, hey, Shadow, da-da-da-da. And I was like, what, man? You ready to leave? And he's like, yeah, man. And this and that. But then I noticed that two guys stood outside. You could see that they were standing there, you know. He was looking back to them. We're looking back at him. And I stood talking to Matt for like a good 10 minutes. You could see the guys see him getting like worried, you know, like anxious to leave and shit. So when they took off, I see it when they took off. It was in a black truck. It was a small truck. And the three of them sat in the front seat, and Matt sat in the middle. And I didn't think nothing of it, you know. I didn't think that the guys was gonna be like that.
A friend of Aaron McKinney.
Oh, I've known Aaron a long time. I mean, I liked Aaron a lot. He was a good kid. That's why I was so shocked when I heard this. I know he was living out far at a trailer house. That's what he told me with his girl. And they started dating last summer, and well, they must have gotten pregnant as soon as they started dating, because, you know, they had a kid. And, you know, at the time that I knew him, he was just a young kid trying to fit in, you know, acting tough, acting cool, and, you know, you could get in his face about it, and he'd back down, just like he was some kind of scared kid.
Sherry Anand.
Russell was just so sweet. He was the one that was the Eagle Scout. I mean, his whole presence was just quiet and sweet. So, of course, it doesn't make sense to me. And I know people snap or whatever. It wasn't a real intimate relationship, but Justice Lamb. I did work with him at the Chuck Wagon, too. And I remember, like at the Christmas party, he was just totally drunk, out of his mind, like we were all pretty much just party time. He wasn't belligerent. He didn't change. His personality didn't change. He was still the same little Russell. And I remember him coming up to me and saying, when you have a chance, Sherry, can I have a band? So of course, we never did get around to doing that, but now I just want to shake. And what were you thinking? What in the hell were you thinking?
The fence. I've been out there 4 times. I've taken visitors. This place has become a pilgrim site. Clearly, it's a very powerful and personal experience to go out there. It's so stark and isolated. And you can't help but think of Matthew out there for 18 hours in the nearly freezing temperatures. And the view up there, so isolated, and my God, why have you forsaken me? Comes to mind.
Company member Greg Ferrari.
Phil LaBrie, a friend of Matthew's, took us to the fence this morning. I broke down the moment I touched it. I feel such a strong kinship to this young man. On the way back, I made sure no one saw me crying.
Leave by the council.
Greg was crying on the way back.
I can bring myself to tears, but I felt the same way. I had an interview this afternoon with Aaron Rifles. He's the boy who found Matthew out there at the fence. But I don't think about that right now. I'll see if someone else can do it.
I left about 5 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday on my bicycle from my dorm. I just kind of felt like going for a ride. I decided to go to the top of Cactus Canyon, and I'm not super familiar with the area, so it was coming back down. I didn't know where it's going. I was kind of picking the way to go. Looking back, it makes me think that God wanted me to find him. Because there was no way I was going to go that way. So I was in some deep ass sand, and I wanted to turn around, but I didn't. So I keep going, and there's a rock on the ground, and I just kind of drilled it. And I ended up going over my handlebars, and I ended up on the ground. And I was kind of dusting myself off, looking around, and I noticed there's anyone else to be mad. He was sort of I crumpled up and lying by the fence, and I thought it was a scarecrow. Honest, I thought Halloween's coming up. I thought it was a Halloween guy. So I didn't think much of it. And I picked my bike up and I'm walking around the fence that was there. It was a buck-type fence. And I noticed his hair. That was a major key to me, knowing there was a human being was seeing his hair. Because honestly, I thought it was a dummy. I even saw his chest going up and down. I thought it was some kind of mechanism, but when I saw his hair, I knew it was a human being. So I ran as fast as I could to the nearest house. I called the police.
I responded to the call.
Reggie flew.
Well, when I first got there, the only thing I could see was pushing somebody's feet. So I got out of my vehicle and I raced over and I see what appeared to be a young man, 13, 14 years old, because he was so tiny, lying out on his back, tied to the bottom end of a pole. Now I did the best I could. The gentleman that was lying on the ground, Matthew Shepard, he was covered in blood all over his face. There's blood underneath him, and he was barely breathing. He was doing the best he could. Now I was going to breathe for him, and I couldn't get his mouth open. His mouth went open for me. He was covered in, like I said, partially dry blood. There's blood all over his face. And the only place that he didn't have any blood on his face, was what appears to have been repeated crying down his face. His head was distorted, it did not look normal. It looked as if he had a real harsh head wound.
I was working in the emergency room the night Matthew Shepard was brought in, and I don't think any of us remember seeing a patient in that condition in a long time. Those of us who have worked in big city hospitals, we have seen this. But there are some of us here who have not worked in a big city hospital. It's not something you expect to see here. You expect to see these kind of injuries coming from a car going at a hill at 80 miles per hour. You expect to see gross injuries from something like that. This horrible, horrific thing. You don't expect to see that from a person doing that to another person. The ambulance report said it was a beating. So we... And there was nothing I could do. If there was anything I could have done, I would have done it, but there was nothing. I remember yelling at the top of my lungs, like, hello? Wake up, hello? But he didn't move. He didn't flinch anything.
He was tied to the fence. His hands were thumbs out, what we call cuffing position, the way we handcuff people. He was bound with a real thin, white rope, and it went around the pole about 4 inches above the ground. His shoes were missing. And he was tied extremely tight, so I used my boot knife and I tried to slip it between the rope and his wrist. And I had to be extremely careful not to harm Matthew any further.
Your first thought is, well, you certainly hope it's got to be from someone trying to attack. That comes through and beats somebody. I mean, stuff like this happens. Shit happens, and it happens in Laramie. But when someone's been beaten repeatedly, well, that offends us. That's a good word for it. It offends us.
And he was tied, so tight, when I finally got my knife through there. I'm sorry. We rolled him over to his left side. When we did that, he quit breathing. So immediately I put him back on his back, and that was just enough of an adjustment. It gave me just enough room to cut him free there. I seen the EMS unit trying to get to the location. When the ambulance got there, we put him that collar on him, placed him on a backboard, and scooted him out from underneath the fence. Then Rob drove the ambulance to Iverson Hospital's emergency room.
And the funny thing is, 20 minutes before Matthew Shepard was brought in, Aaron McKinney was brought in by his girlfriend. I guess he got into a fight later that night back in town. So I'm working on Aaron, and the ambulance comes in with Matthew. And at this point, I don't know this connection at all. So I tell Aaron to wait, and I go to treat Matthew. So there's Aaron in one room of the ER. And there's Matthew, 2 doors down from each other. When we saw Matthew, we knew that he was beyond our capabilities. Called the nurse surgeon at Poudre Valley Hospital. He was on the road an hour and 15 minutes, I think.
They showed me a picture. Days later, they showed me a picture of Matthew. I would have never recognized him.
2 days later, I found the connection, and I was very struck. There were 2 kids. They were 2 kids, and they were both my care. I took care of both of them, of both their bodies. And for a moment, I wonder if this is how God feels, looking down at us. That we're all these kids, our bodies, our souls. And I felt a great deal of compassion for both of them.
This is John Peacock, Matthew Shepard's academic advisor.
On Thursday afternoon, the news reports start trickling out. But no names were mentioned. The brutality of the crime was not mentioned. The only thing that was mentioned was that there was a man, a Laramie man, found beaten out on the prairie, basically. And then later that evening, they mentioned his name, and it was like, that can't. That's not Matthew Shepard. I know that's not my student. That's not this person I've been dealing with.
I was in the coffee shop,
Romaine Paris.
and someone pulled me aside and they said, I don't know much, but they say there's been a young man who's been beaten in Laramie, and they say his name was Matthew Shepard. And he said, do you think this could be our Matthew? And I'm like, yeah, it sounds like it could be our Matthew. So I called up my sister Trish, and I'm just like, I need to know anything that you know, because I don't know anything.
So I'm on the phone with my sister, and that's when the whole story comes up on Channel 5 News, and it was just like, boom.
And the news reports start rolling out, young University of Wyoming student, and it was like, oh my God.
And I just felt sick in my stomach. It was just instantly sick in my stomach, and I had to tell Romaine, yes, it was Matthew. It was your friend.
Well, I'll tell you it was overwhelming.
Matt Galloway.
Friday morning, I first find out about it. I go to class, walk out, boom, there it is, in the brand new eye. So I immediately drive to the nearest newsstand, buy a Laramie boomerang, because I want more details. By that, go home, and before I can even open the paper, my boss calls me and he says,
Did you hear what happened?
I'm like, yeah.
Were they in the bar Tuesday night?
Yes, they were.
We get in the bar, we're going to talk about this, we discuss what's going to go on.
By this time, I was starting to feel upset, but still the severity wasn't out there.
It was Thursday afternoon.
Ruben Stacy at Poudre Valley Hospital.
I got a call. We just got a kid in from Wyoming, and it looks like he's been the victim of a hate crime. We have a couple of newspaper reporters asking questions, and so we agreed we needed one spokesperson. As CEO, I'll do that, and we'll gather all the information that we can.
Then I turned on the 10 o'clock news that night where they started talking about the nature and the seriousness of it.
So I'm on the phone with Vince, and he's like,
We do the arraignments, we identify these guys, we turn these guys in the bar.
so we go to the arraignment.
Our focus today turns to Laramie, Wyoming, and the Albany County Courthouse, where Aaron James McKinney and Russell Arthur Henderson are being charged for the brutal beating of Matthew Shepard, a gay University of Wyoming student.
The arraignment was on Friday, right around lunchtime. And I said, I'm just going. I just took off. It's just down the street, so I walked a few blocks and I went. Has anybody told you about the arraignment? There's probably 100 people from town and probably as many news media by that point. A lot more of the details have come out. the fact that the perpetrators were kids themselves, local kids, that everyone who's come around here has some relationship to. And what everyone was really, I think, waiting on pins and needles for what would happen when the perpetrators walked in. And what happened? There's 200 people in the room at this point. They walked in their complete orange jumpsuits and their shackles, and you could have put a pin up. It was incredibly solemn. I mean, lots of people were teary at this point. Then the judge came in and did a reading. There was a reading of the evidence the prosecution has, and it's just a statement of facts. And the reading of the facts was...
The essential facts are that the defendants, Aaron James McKinney and Russell Arthur Henderson, met Matthew Shepard at the fireside bar. And after Mr. Shepard confided he was gay, the subjects deceived Mr. Shepard into leaving with them in their vehicle to a remote area. Upon arrival at said area, both subjects tied the victim to a buck fence, robbed him, tortured him, and beat him. Both defendants were later contacted by the police officers of the Laramie Police Department, who observed inside the cab of their pickup a credit card and a pair of black patent leather shoes belonging to the victim, Matthew Shepard.
I don't think there was any person who was left in the courtroom who wasn't crying by the end. I mean, it lasted 5 minutes, but it kept on getting more and more horrific, ending with...
Said defendants left the victim begging for his life.
Sergeant King.
How could this happen? I think a lot of people just don't understand. Even I don't understand how someone could do something like that. We have one of the most vocal populations of gay people in the state, and it's pretty much live and let live.
Laramie resident Jeffrey Lockwood.
My secret hope was that they were from out of town. That they could create that distance. We don't grow children like that here. Well, it's very clear that we do grow children like that here.
So, that was the arraignment. And my response was pretty catatonic. Not sleeping, not eating. Don't leave me alone right now.
And then the news reports start rolling in, the motivation, how it happened, and then, frankly, the media descended, and then there was no time to reflect on it anymore.
Laramie, Wyoming, often called the gem city of the plains, is now at the eye of the storm.
Aaron McKinney and his friend Russell Henderson came to the port of the town.
As a gay college student was hospitalized in critical condition after security.
People would like to think that what happened to Matthew was an exception to the rule, but it's an extreme version of what happens in our schools on a daily basis.
It's tough business, as Matt Shepard knew and his friends all know, to be gay in cowboy country.
It was huge. Yeah, we're talking herds, and we're talking hundreds of reporters, which puts a pretty big dent in this town's population. We're talking news reporters everywhere, news trucks everywhere on campus, everywhere in town, and we're not used to that kind of attention to begin with. We're not used to that kind of exposure. Tiffany Edwards, local reporter.
These people are predators. Like this one journalist actually caught one of the judges in the bathroom at the urinal and was like asking him questions. And the judge was like, "Excuse me, can I have some privacy?" And the journalist was like offended that he asked for privacy. But then, like, this isn't how journalism started. Like the Gutenberg press.
I'll tell you what, when hard copy came to tape me, I taped them at the exact same time. I've ever run out of sun on tape. So if they ever try anything funny, they better watch their fucking ass.
Wyoming Governor Jim Garringer, a first-term Republican, up for re-election.
I am outraged and sickened by the heinous crime committed on Matthew Shepard, and I extend my most heartfelt sympathies to the family.
Governor, you haven't pushed hate crime legislation in the past.
I would urge the people of Wyoming against overreacting in a way that gives one group special rights over others. We must wait and see if this vicious torture and beating of Matthew Shepard was indeed motivated by hate.
And you've got the beginning of the news story. And where they've got the graphics in the background, they have murder in Wyoming. And Wyoming is dripping red, like it's got got blood on it or something. And it's like, what is this? This is sensationalism. And we're here going, now wait a minute. We had those boys in jail in less than a day. I think that's pretty damn good.
And for us to be more or less maligned.
Eileen, Gil, and Gil.
Like we're not a good community. And we are. The majority of people here are good people.
You get bad apples once in a while, but I think the gay community took us as an advantage. Said this is a good time for us to exploit this.
Bill McKinney, father of one of the accused.
Had this been a heterosexual, these two boys decided to take out and rob, this never would have made the national news. Now my son is guilty before he's even had a trial.
Look, I do think that the media has actually made people accountable because it made people think. Because people were sitting in their homes, watching TV, listening to CNN, and watching Dan Rather and going, oh, Jesus Christ, that's not how it is here. Well then, how is it here?
Matthew Shepard, medical update, at 3 p.m. Saturday, October 10th.
I looked out there, and where there had been 2 or 3 newspaper reporters, there must have been 10 or 15 still photographers, another 20 or 30 reporters, and 10 video cameras. I had just met the family who had just arrived, and I just looked out there and I thought, my gosh, what am I going to do? Matthew Shepard was admitted in critical condition approximately 9:15 p.m. October 2nd. When he arrived, he was unresponsive and breathing support was being provided. Matthew's major injuries upon arrival included hypothermia and a fracture from behind his head to just in front of the right ear. This has caused bleeding in the brain as well as pressure on the brain. Matthew's temperature has fluctuated over the last 24 hours, ranging from 98 to 106 degrees. Matthew's family arrived at 7 p.m. October 9th and are at his bedside now. The following is a statement from him. First of all, we want to thank the American public for their kind thoughts about Matthew and their fond wishes for his speedy recovery. We appreciate your prayers and goodwill, and we know that they are something Matthew would appreciate too. We also have a special request for the members of the media. Matthew is very much in need of his family at this time, and we ask that you respect our privacy as well as Matthew's, so we can concentrate all of our efforts, thoughts, and love on our son. Thank you very much.
Both Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson pled not guilty to the charges. Their girlfriends, Chastity Pasley and Kristen Price, also pled not guilty after being charged as accessories after the fact. On our next trip to Laramie, we spoke with the chief investigator on the case, Detective Rob McGree of the Albany County Sheriff's Department.
I think the thing that bothered me the most is when I went down to Poudre Valley, where Matthew was. And the thing that bothered me the most was seeing him. As a homicide detective, you look at bodies, and here's this poor boy, fighting all his life, trying to live. I wanted it so by the book, you know?
Have you seen that picture of my head when I found it?
Aaron Kreifels.
It's like not pleasant whatsoever. I don't want it to be there. I want to get it out. That's a major thing for me. Seeing the picture of my head when I found it. Because the big question with me with my religion is, why did God want me to find him?
I know how to take care of myself. And I was irrationally terrified.
Catherine Connolly.
So what that means is not letting my 12-year-old son walk the streets. Or seeing a truck do a U-turn and thinking it's coming after me. Having to stop because I'm shaking so bad. And in fact, the pickup truck did not come after me, but my response was to have my heart in my mouth.
Ultimately, no matter how you dice it, I did have an opportunity.
Matt Galloway.
If I had amazing hindsight of 2020 to have stopped, occurred, and I keep thinking to myself, I should have noticed. These guys should have been talking to this guy. I should have had my head down when I was washing dishes for those 20 seconds. Things I could have done. What the hell was I thinking?
So you do a lot of studying. You spend hours and hours and hours. You study, talking to the officers, making sure they understand. You talk to your witnesses again, but always coming back to, I get this flash of seeing Matthew. I wanted it so tight there was no way they were going to get out of this.
One of the things that happened when I got to the fence,
Officer Reggie Flutie.
there's just an overwhelming amount of blood. And we tried to wear protective gloves, but we had a cheap sheriff at the time, we called it shit gloves. So, you put them on, they kept breaking. So finally, we ran out of gloves. And we figured, don't hesitate. That's what your mind always tells you, don't hesitate. So you keep moving and you try to help Matthew and find a better way. That's just what you do,
The thing I wasn't telling you before is that Reggie is my daughter.
Marge Murray.
And when she first told me she wanted to be a police officer, well, I thought there was not a better choice for her. She could handle whatever came her way.
Probably a day and a half later, the hospital called me and told me Matthew had HIV. And they said, you've been exposed. You've had a bad exposure. Because you see, I've been building a lean-to for my llamas. Well, my hands have a bunch of cuts on them. So I was kind of screwed. And just, shoot,
Would you like to talk about losing sleep?
So I said to the doctor, okay, what do I do? And they said, get up here. So I got up there and started the ATZ drugs immediately.
Now, they told me that's a medication that if it's administered 36 hours after being exposed, it could maybe stop you getting the disease.
Now that is mean, nasty medicine. Mean. I lost 10 pounds and a lot of hair. Yeah.
Quite frankly, I wanted to lash out at somebody. Dr. Matthew, please understand that not one of us is mad at Matthew. But we really wanted to squeeze McKinney's head off. Then I think about Henderson. Two absolutely human beings cause so much grief for so many people. It's been terrible for my whole family, but mainly for her and her kids.
It really brought one of my girls with their mom does for a living.
Well, Reggie, you know what I'm going to tell you now.
Oh, my parents listen to the same damn thing.
You're quitting this damn job.
And it's just a parent thing. They're terribly proud of you because you do a good job, whether it's handling a drug or handling a case like this. But they don't want you getting hurt.
And like I said, there's a right way, there's a wrong way, and then there's Reggie's way.
So I kind of said, oh, for God's sakes, lighten up, Francis.
You're so stubborn.
They say I'm stubborn? But I don't believe them. I just think, okay, I've heard your opinion, and now here's mine. I am 39 years old. What are they going to do? Spank me?
Don't give me any ideas.
They look pretty funny. So what are you going to say?
Just hope she doesn't go before me. I'm just going to handle that.
University of Wyoming President Philip DeMont.
This was a young person who read my statement in the Denver Post story, and they sent an email directly to me that said,
You and the straight people of Laramie and Wyoming are guilty of the beating of Matthew Shepard, just as the Germans who look the other way are guilty of the deaths of the Jews, the Gypsies, and the homosexuals. You have taught your straight children to hate their gay and lesbian brothers and sisters. Unless and until you acknowledge that Matthew Shepard's beating is not just a random occurrence, not just the work of a couple of random crazies, You have Matthew Shepard's blood on your hands.
And it's like, well, I can't even tell you what that does to a person. It's like, you can't possibly know what I'm thinking. You can't possibly know what it's done to me, my family, my community.
That first week alone, vigils for Matthew Shepard were held in Laramie, Denver, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs. Soon after, in Detroit, Chicago, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Nashville, Minneapolis, and Portland, Maine, among others. In Los Angeles, 5,000 people gathered. And in New York City, a protest ended in civil disobedience and hundreds of arrests. And at the Hooter Valley Hospital website, close to 1 million visitors from across the country and around the world, all expressing hope for Matthew Shepard's recovery.
Matthew Shepard medical update, 9 a.m. Sunday, October 11th.
As of 9 a.m. today, Matthew Shepard remains in critical condition. The family continues to emphasize that you respect their privacy. The family also wants to thank the American public for their kind thoughts and concern for Matthew.
There's certain things when I sit in church,
Jedediah Schultz.
and the Rev will tell you flat out that he doesn't agree with homosexuality. And, I don't know. I think I'm going through changes. I'm still figuring things out about myself, so I don't know enough to make a decision that says homosexuality is right. When you've been raised your entire life that's wrong. And right now, I would say that I don't agree with it. Yeah, that I don't agree with it. And biblically speaking, I don't think that's how God intended it to happen. But it's not like you're going to persecute homosexuals or anything like that. It's not going to come between me and the other person, like, at all.
Well, it's preached in schools that being gay is okay, and yada, yada, yada.
Conrad Miller.
And if my kids asked me, I'd set them down. I'd tell them this is what gay people do. This is what animals do, okay? Then I'd tell them this is the life, this is the lifestyle, this is what they do. Then I'd say, this is why I believe it's wrong.
There's more gay people around than what you think.
Murdoch Cooper.
But it doesn't bother anyone, because most of them that are gay or lesbian, they know damn well who you're talking to. You cross the line, you're asking for it. Now, some people are saying that he made a pass at me. You don't pick up regular people. Now, I'm not excusing their actions, but I feel better knowing that, because it was partially Matthew Shepard's fault, and partially the guys who did it. You know, maybe it's 50-50.
Yes, as a lesbian, I am more concerned with my safety.
Zachy Salmon.
I think we all were. And I think it's because somewhere inside we all knew it could have been us any time. I mean, I would have walked out the street and displayed any sort of physical affection for my partner. You don't do that here in Laramie.
There's this whole idea. You leave me alone, I leave you alone.
Jonas Sloniker.
It's even written in some of the Western literature. You know, live and let live. That is such crap. I tell my friends that. Even my gay friends bring it up sometimes. I'm like, that is crap. Basically, what it boils down to, I don't tell you I'm a fag, you won't beat the crap out of me. What is so great about that? That's a great philosophy.
We went to the candle vigil, and it was so good to be with people who felt like shit. And I kept feeling like I don't deserve to feel this bad. And someone got up there and said, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, I'm saying it wrong, but basically he said, come on guys, let's show the world that Laramie is not this kind of a town. But it is that kind of a town. If it wasn't this kind of a town, why did this happen here? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot. because it happened here. So how could it not be a town where this kind of thing happens? Like, that's totally, like looking at an Escher painting and getting all confused. Like, it's just totally like circular logic. Like, how can we even see that? And we have to warn this. And we have to be sad that we live in a town, a state, a country where shit like this happens. I mean, these are people that are trying to distance themselves from this crime. And we have to own this crime, I feel. Everyone needs to own it. We are like this. We are like this. We are like this. Yeah, we both did. When I first found out, I thought it was really, really awful. I don't know whether Aaron was fucked up or whether he was coming down or what, but Matthew had money. Shit, he had better clothes than I did. Matthew was a little rich bitch. Oh, yeah, so that's not right. Well, I'm not saying he was a bad guy either, because he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Said the wrong thing. And I don't know, I won't lie to you. There was times where I was all messed up on meth and I thought about going out and robbing. I mean, I never did, but yeah, it was there. It's easy money.
Aaron's done that kind of thing before. They both done it. I remember one time I went to Cheyenne to go do it, and then he got probably $300. Now I don't know if they ever chose like gay people as their particular targets before, but anyone who looked like they had a lot of money or that was well, you know, they could outnumber or overpower, it was fair game.
Do you think there was any homophobia at all that contributed to some of it?
Probably. It probably would have pissed him off that Matthew was gay because he didn't like the gay people I've seen him around here. He was fine as long as, you know, they didn't hit on him. As long as it didn't come up.
As long as they weren't doing it in front of me.
Do you get the impression that you knew other gay people?
I'm sure that he knew people that are gay. I mean, he worked at the KFC and there was a couple people up there yeah, look. And I'm not saying it's bad or anything, because I don't know how many people I know are doing gay.
If you guys could see Eric right now, what would you say to him?
First of all, I asked him if he'd ever do any more tweak.
If I saw Aaron now, I'd be like, man, why did you fuck up like that? But I want to make sure he's doing good in it though. But I'm sure he is. I mean, I don't know. I probably just want to like hang out with him. Smoke a bowl with him. So bad.
You both went to Laramie High?
Yeah. We both did. Can't you tell? We're a product of our society.
On a day that traditionally gives itself to nothing more profound than collegiate exuberance and the fortunes of the University of Wyoming football team, this community on the high plains had a different homecoming Saturday as many searched their souls in the wake of a vicious, apparent anti-gay leader.
University President Philip Dubois.
This was homecoming weekend, and there were a lot of people in town. There's a homecoming parade that was scheduled. We went to the students organized tag on to that parade.
plans the students had created. I live in the center of town,
Harry Woods.
and my apartment has windows on opposite streets. One goes north and the other goes south. And this is exactly the homecoming parade. Now, on the day of the parade, I had a cast on my leg because of the fall, and so I was very disappointed because I really wanted to walk with the people who were marching with Matthew, but I couldn't. And so I watched from my window, and it was just, I'm 52 years old, and I'm gay, and I've lived here in Laramie for many years, and I've seen a lot. And I was very moved when I saw the tag at the end of the homecoming parade. There were about 100 people marching behind a banner for Matthew Shepard. And then the parade went down to the end of the block to make a U-turn. So I went to the other side of my apartment to wait for him to come south down the other street.
I was right up front when they were holding the banner for Matthew, and let me tell you, I've never had goosebumps so long in my life. It was incredible. A mass of people, of families, of mothers holding their 6-year-old kids and tying these armbands around these 6-year-old kids and trying to explain to them why they should wear an armband. Just amazing. I mean, it was absolutely one of the most beautiful things I've ever done in my life.
Well, about 10 minutes go by, and sure enough, the parade starts coming down the street. And then I noticed the most incredible thing. As the parade was coming down the street, the number of people marching for Matthew had grown 5 times. There were at least 500 people marching for Matthew. 500 people! Can you imagine? The tag at the end of the parade was larger than the entire parade. And people kept joining me. And then you know what? I started to cry. I thought, thank God, I got to see this in my lifetime. And my second thought, thank you, Matthew.
I really haven't been all that involved, per se. My husband's a highway patrolman, so that's really the only way that I've known about it. Now, when I first found out, I just thought it was horrible. I can't. Nobody deserves that. I don't care who you are. But the other thing that was not brought out, at the same time this happened, my patrolman was killed. And there was nothing. Nothing. They didn't say anything about the old man that killed him. He was driving down the road. He shouldn't have been driving. It was just a little piece in the paper. And we lost one of our guys. You know, my husband worked with him. I mean, this man was brand new on the force. Here's one of ours. And it was just a little piece of paper. You know, a lot of days I'm feeling that the media is portraying Matthew Shepard as a saint. And making him as a martyr. And I don't think he was. I don't think he was that pure. Now, I didn't know him, but there's just so many things about him that I'm finding out that it's scary. You know? The rest of his character. It's what he needs. And a few other things. And, you know, being the kind of person that he was just a barfly. You know what I mean? And I think he pushed himself around. I think he flaunted it. Everybody's got problems, but why they exemplified him, I don't know. What's the difference if you're gay? A hate crime if you murder somebody, you hate them. It has nothing to do with if you're gay or prostitute or whatever. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Company member Lee Fundakowski.
This is one of our last days on our second trip to Laramie. Greg and I have been conducting interviews nonstop, and we're exhausted.
We are to meet Father Roger at 7:30 in the morning. I was wishing we could skip it all together, but we have to see it through to the end. Here we go. 7:30 a.m., 2 queers and a Catholic priest. Matthew Shepard has served us well. Do you realize that? He has served us well. Now, I don't mean to condemn Matthew to perfection, but I cannot think of anyone who has done more for this community than Matthew Shepard. I won't sit here and say I was some bold guy, no fear. I was scared. I was very vocal in this community when this happened, and I thought, maybe we should ask the bishop for his permission to do the vigil. And then I thought, hell no, I'm not going to do that. His permission doesn't make it correct. Do you realize that? No, I'm not knocking bishops. But what is correct is correct. You people are just out here on a search though. I will do this. I will trust you that if you write a play of this, you say it right, you say it correct. I think you have a responsibility to do that. Don't make matters worse. You think violence is what they did to Matthew. And they did do violence to Matthew. But every time someone calls you a fag, or you a les, or whatever.
Or a dyke.
Dyke. Yes, dyke. Do you realize that that is violence? That is the seed of violence. And I would resent it immensely if you use anything I said to somehow cultivate that type of violence, even in its smallest form. I would resent it immensely, and you need to know that.
Well, thank you, Father, for saying that.
Just deal with what is true. You know what is true. You need to do your best to say it correct.
Andrew Gomez. I was in there. I was in jail with Darren in December. I got thrown in over Christmas. Assault and battery. 2 counts. I don't want to talk about it. But we're sitting there eating our Christmas dinner. I'm trying to eat my stuffing, my motherfucking bread, my little roll. And I asked him, I was like, hey, homie, tell me something. Tell me something, please. Why did you, okay, I'm trying to think of how I worded this. I'm like, why did you kill a faggot if you're gonna destined to be a faggot later? You know? I mean, think about that. He's either gonna get humped a lot, or he's gonna die. So why did you do that? Think about that. I know what he said. And you know what he said to me? Honest to God, this is what he said. He tried to grab my dick. That's what he said, man. He's dumb, dog. He don't even act like it was nothing. Now, I heard they was auctioning those boys off. Up there in the Max Woods, you know, where the killers are. I heard that when they found out Aaron was coming to prison, they was auctioning those boys off. I want them. I'll set aside 5, 6, 7 cartons of cigarettes. Auction his ass off. Whew. I'd be scared to go to prison if I was those 2 boys.
Hello?
Reverend?
Yes, hello.
Hi, I believe your wife told you a bit about contacting me.
Yes, she did. And let me tell you, I don't think I want to speak to anyone about this situation. I'm somewhat involved, and I just don't think that...
I completely understand, and I don't blame you. I went to your service on Sunday.
You went to the services on Sunday?
Yes, I did.
On Sunday?
Yes, this past Sunday.
Did I meet you?
Yes, you welcomed me at the beginning, I believe.
I see. Well, let me tell you, I'm not afraid to be controversial or to speak my mind. And that is not necessarily the views of my congregation per se. You see, as I said, I'm somewhat involved. the people in this case, well, the girlfriend of one of the accused is a member of our congregation, and one of the accused has visited. Now, these two people, the accused, they have forfeited their lives, and we've been after these two for ages, trying to get them to live right, to do right. Now, one boy's on suicide watch, and I'm working with him. Until they put him in the chair and turn on the juice, I will work for his salvation. Now, I think that they deserve the death penalty, and I will try to deal with them spiritually.
Right? I understand.
But as for the victim, let me tell you one thing. I know that that lifestyle is evil. But I hope that Matthew Shepard, while he was tied to that fence, had time to reflect on a moment when someone spoke the word of the Lord to him. And that before he slipped into that coma, he had a chance to reflect on that lifestyle.
Thank you, Reverend. I appreciate your speaking with me.
About 11:30 that night, I had barely gone to bed. Margo, our chief operating officer, called and said his blood pressure had started to drop. Well, let's wait and see. About 10 minutes after she called, he had just died. So I quick got dressed and came in, and I went into the ICU where the family was. Judy came up to me and put her arms around me, and I put my arms around her, and we just stood there. Honestly, about 10 minutes, just what else do we do? We had to sit and talk about things that you just, Dennis, this is now public knowledge. I'm going to go out there now and tell the whole world that this has happened. Because at this point, it was clear to us that it was the world. It was the whole world. So Judy told me what she wanted me to say, and I went out there at 4 o'clock.
Matthew Shepard, medical update, 4:30 a.m., Monday, October 12th.
At 12 o'clock midnight, Monday, October 12th, Matthew Shepard's blood pressure began to drop. We notified the family immediately. We were already at the hospital. At 12:53, Matthew Shepard died. His family was at his bedside. The family did release the following statement. The family again asked me to express their sincerest gratitude to the entire world for the overwhelming response to their son. The family is grateful that they did not have to make a decision regarding whether or not to continue life support for their son. Like a good son, he was caring to the end and removed all guilt or stress from the family. He came into the world premature and left the world premature. Matthew's mother said, "Go home, give your kids a hug, and don't let a day go by without telling them that you love them." And I don't know how I let it happen, but I lost on national television. We had been up for like 72 hours straight and had gone home and gone to sleep for a couple of hours and had to get up and come in. And maybe I was just away, I don't know. But in a moment of complete breakdown, while I was out there reading that statement, I thought about my own 4 daughters and go home. But her kid, she doesn't have her kid anymore. And there I am, I'm thinking this is so lame. We started to get people sending us letters and emails, and most of them were generally very kind. But I did get this one. This one man wrote to me and said, "Do you cry like a baby on TV for all of your patients or just the faggots?" Now, as I told you, homosexuality is not a lifestyle with which I agree, but having been thrown into it, I didn't understand the magnitude with which some people could hate. And of all the letters we got, maybe Maybe one or two were like that. Most of them were thank you for your caring and compassion. And Matthew had caring and compassion for the mowing.
I spoke with Doc today and told him that we would soon be coming back to the upcoming trials of Russell Henderson and Aaron McCain. And this is what he had to say. I tell you what, if they put those two boys to death, that would defeat everything Matt would be thinking about. Because Matt would not want those two to die. He'd want to leave them with hope. H-O-P-E. Like the whole world hoped that Matt would survive. The whole thing, you see, the whole thing ropes around hope. H-O-P-E. The day of the funeral was snowing so bad, big, huge, wet snowflakes. And when I got there were thousands of people in just black with umbrellas everywhere. And there were two churches, one for the immediate family, invited guests, and pulled back picture. And then one church for everybody else who wanted to be there. And then still, hundreds of people outside that couldn't fit into either of these churches. And there was a big park by the church, that's the reason. And this park was full.
The liturgy today is an Easter liturgy. It finds its meaning in the resurrection. The service invites your full participation. Lord be with you. And also with you. Let us pray.
And I guess it was like the worst storm that they'd ever had. Like that anyone can tell. Like trees fell down and the power went out for a couple of days because of it. I'm just thinking, this is the forces of the universe at work. Like whatever higher power you know that is that blows storms was blowing this storm.
For our brother Matthew, we pray to the Lord Jesus Christ, who said, I am the resurrection and the life. We pray to the Lord.
Hear us, Lord. The most striking memory from the funeral? Gary Drake, Casper Star Tribune.
Seeing Reverend Fred Phelps from Kansas. That scene up in the park.
Hear us, Lord.
Do you believe the Bible? Do you believe you're supposed to separate the precious from the Bible?
Hear us, Lord.
You don't believe that part of the Bible? You stand over there, ignorant of the fact that in the Bible, 2 times for every verse it talks about God's love, it talks about God's hate.
Hear us, Lord.
A bunch of the kids in the high school got up early and came over and started yelling and protesting.
Hear us, Lord.
The Fred Phelps people. And I remember this guy, this skinhead walking over, and he's covered in leather and spikes everywhere. And he comes over to the crowd where the protest was, and I remember thinking, oh God, this is going to be a really ugly confrontation. And he comes over and he starts leading the crowd in amazing grace.
We wouldn't be here if this was just another murder the state was going to deal with. The state deals with hundreds of murders every single day. But this murder is different. Because the facts are bringing us out here, trying to make Matthew Shepard into a poster boy with a dead life now. And we're going to answer. It's just that simple.
6 months later, we returned for the trial of Russell Henderson, the first of the 2 murders. It was to be a capital murder trial. When we arrived at the Albany County Courthouse, Fred Phelps was already there.
You don't like that attribute of God.
But so was Romaine Patterson.
That perfect attribute of God. Well, we love that attribute of God. And we're going to preach it because God's hatred is fueled into determination. Into determination that He's going to send some people to hell. That's God's hatred.
After seeing Fred Phelps protesting at Matthew's funeral and finding out he was going to Laramie for the trial of Russell Henderson, I decided that someone needs to stand toe-to-toe with this guy and show you the differences. And I think that at times like these, if you're talking about hatred as much as the nation is right now, that someone needs to show you there's a better way of dealing with this kind of hatred. So, our idea is to dress up like angels. And we designed an angel outfit, for our wings are huge. They're like big-ass wings, and they're intended to give us that are angels. And what we're going to do is we are going to encircle Fred Phelps. And because of our big wings, stand there and we turn our backs to him. And we are a group of people bringing forth a message of peace and love and compassion. And we're calling it angel action. Yeah, this 21-year-old little lesbian is ready to walk the line with him.
When those old preachers laid their hands on me, they called it an ordination. Then they delivered a charge. Mine was from Isaiah 58:1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a
And I knew my angels were going to be taking the brunt of everything that he had to yell and say. I mean, well, we were going to be blocking his view and he was going to be like pissed off to all hell. So, I went out and I bought my angels earplugs.
The court is now in session. Romaine Patterson's sister, Trish stated.
As soon as they started jury selection, everybody started coming in my shop with, oh my God, I don't want to be a part of this trial. I hope they don't call me, or, oh my God, I'm called. How do I get off? Just wanting to be as far away from that as we could. Very fearful that they were going to be a part of that jury. Now, I understand that. Henderson had to sit inside the courtroom while they questioned prospective jurors. And one of the questions they asked is, would you be willing to put this person to death? Now, I understand a lot of those comments were, yes, I would.
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
No problem. Yep. Now, can you imagine hearing that? Just juror after juror after juror.
You entered a not guilty plea earlier, Mr. Henderson. I understand you wish to change your plea today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You understand, Mr. Henderson, that the recommended sentence here is 2 life sentences?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that these may run concurrently or they may run consecutively?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Henderson, I will now ask you how you wish to plead, guilty or not guilty.
Guilty.
Before this court decides whether the sentences will be concurrent or consecutive, I understand that there are some statements to be made by at least one individual.
This is an excerpt from a statement made to the court by Lucy Thompson.
As the grandmother and person who raised Russell, along with my family, we have written the following statement. Our hearts ache for the pain and suffering that shepherds have went through. We have prayed for your family since the very beginning. Many times throughout the day, I have thought about that. And you will continue to be in our thoughts and prayers as we know that your pain will never go away. You showed such mercy in allowing us to have this plea. And we are so grateful that you are giving us all the opportunity to live. Your Honor, we, as family, hope that as you sentence Russell, that you will do it concurrently. 2 life terms. For the Russell we know and love. Your Honor, we humbly plead to not take Russell completely out of our lives forever.
Thank you. Mr. Henderson, you have a constitutional right to make a statement if you would like to do so. Is there anything you would like to say?
Yes, I would, Your Honor. Mr. and Mrs. Shepard, every time the payback goes by, I don't see what happened that night. I'm very sorry for what you did. You have my deepest sympathies for what happened. And I hope that one day you can find your hearts to forgive me. Your Honor, I know what I did was wrong. I'm very sorry for what I did. And I'm ready to pay my debt for what I did.
Mr. Henderson, you drove the vehicle that took Matthew Shepard to his death. You tied him to that fence in order that he might be more savage than you, and in order that he might not escape to tell his tale. You left him out there for 18 hours, knowing full well that he was there, perhaps having an opportunity to save his life, and you did nothing. This court does not believe that you really feel any true remorse for your part in this. And I wonder whether you understand the gravity of what you've done. This court finds it appropriate, therefore, that sentence be ordered as follows. As to count 3, that being felony murder and robbery, you are to serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. On count 1, kidnapping, you are to serve a period of imprisonment for the term of your natural life. Sentencing for count 1 to run consecutive to sentencing for count 1.
After the hearing, we spoke with Russell Henderson's Mormon home teacher.
I've known Russell's family for 38 years. Russell's only 21, so I've known him his entire life. I ordained Russell a priest of the Mormon church, so when this happened, you can imagine, disbelief. After the sentencing, the church held a disciplinary council, and the result of that meeting was to excommunicate Russell from the church. And what that means is that your name is removed off the records of the church, so you just disappear. Russell's reaction to that was not positive. It hurt him, and it hurt him too at that point to realize how serious a transgression he had committed. But I will not desert Russell. That's a matter of my religion and my friendship with the family.
Before we left Laramie, we met again with Rebecca Hilliker at the theater department. She is producing Angels in America this year at the university.
And I think that's the focus the university has taken, is that we have a lot of work to do. And we have an obligation to find ways to reach our students. And the question is, how do we move? How do we reach a whole state where there's some really deep-seated hostility toward gays? How do you reach them? This is the beginning. Guess who is auditioning for the lead?
My parents!
Jedediah Schultz.
So, my parents asked me what plays are you doing at school this year? And I was like, Angels in America. And they told me a whole list of plays. And they were like, Angels in America? Isn't that play you did in high school? That scene you did in high school? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, well, are you gonna audition for it? And I was like, yeah! And then we got this huge argument. And the best thing I had in them is they had just seen me a performance of Macbeth, where he killed like Lady Macbeth to a guy's like this little kid or whatever. And she kept going like, well, homosexuality is a sin. She kept saying that. And I was like, Mom, you just saw me play a murderer tonight. You seem to have a problem with that. I tell you, I never prepared more for audition in my life. Never, ever, not even close.
Not having to deal that much with the gay society here in Laramie.
Detective Sergeant Rob Debris.
Well, as we started working into the case and actually talking to the people who were gay and understanding what their underlying fears were, well, then it started to hit home. This is America. You don't have the right to feel that fear. Now, you'll still have some people who hold to the old ideals. I might have been one of them 14 months ago. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to put up with it. If you don't like my views on it, fine. The door goes both ways. You know, I feel more comfortable, and I can sleep.
Well, you're tested every 3 months.
Officer Reggie Flutie.
And I was able to get the DNA test done, so they got me out to Fort Collins, they drew the blood there, then they flew up to Michigan, did the DNA work there, and about a week later, I knew I was negative for good.
I tell you, we were all on our knees saying, Hail Mary!
And I was just so elated, you know, and you think, thank God.
And what's the first thing she does?
I stuck my tongue right into my husband's mouth. I was just so happy, you know, you're just so elated, and you think,
They were so happy.
Oh, and the force.
Oh boy.
We went out and we got shit-faced. And they all bought me drinks too. It was great. And you know, we hugged, we cried, and well, you know, every one of them walked through the door.
Reggie, they don't need to know that.
I didn't care if they were male or female, they each got kissed on the lips.
Now, what part of what I just said didn't you understand?
Get over it, Mom.
Almost a year to the day Matthew Shepard died, the trial for Aaron James McKinney was set to begin.
Probably the question that most of you have in your mind is how the McKinney case will proceed.
Cal Ray Ruka, prosecuting attorney.
It is the decision of the county attorney's office that will definitely be a death penalty case.
Part of me wanted the kitty to get it, but I'm not very proud of that. I was on and off and on. I don't know what I would do. I'm too personally involved.
Oh, I believe in the death penalty 100%. You know, because I want to make sure that guy's ass dies. This is one instance where I truly believe with all my heart. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
I don't know about the death penalty, but I certainly never see one his ass down at Rollins Penitentiary ever again. All I pay my nickel a day, percentage of tax, nickel a day, make sure his ass stays in there and never sees society again. Certainly never come to my bar again.
I don't believe in the death penalty. It's too much for me. I don't believe one person should be killed as redemption for having killed another. Two wrongs don't make a right.
How can I protest if the shepherds want me dead? I just can't interfere with that. Like, on a personal level, I knew Aaron from the district. You never called him Aaron, he was called AJ. How can you put AJ McKinney? How can you put AJ McKinney to death?
Right now, I think our most important teachers are Russell Henderson and Aaron McKinney. How did you learn? What did we as a society do to teach you? I don't think many people will let them be their teacher. I think it would be wonderful if the judge were to say, in addition to your sentence, you must tell your story. You must tell your story.
All rise. The state of Wyoming versus Aaron James McKinney. Docket number 6381, the Honorable Barton R. Voigt presiding. During the trial of Aaron McKinney, the prosecution played a tape recording of his confession.
My name is Rob Debris, Sergeant for the Sheriff's Office. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and may be used against you in the court of law.
The following is an excerpt of that confession.
Okay, you guys, you and Russ, you go to the fireside. So you're at the fireside by yourselves, right?
Yeah?
Where do you go after you leave the fireside?
Some kid wanna ride home.
What's he look like?
Like a queer. Such a queer dude.
He looks like a queen.
Yeah, like a fag, you know?
How'd you meet?
Said one ride home. Thought, suit's drunk, let's just take him home.
When did you and Russ talk about Jack and Emma?
Kinda talked about it at the bar.
And what happened next?
We drive out past Walmart. We get over there and he starts grabbing my leg, grabbing my genitals, and I said, hey look man, I'm not a fucking fag. You should be dead there and dead. I told him what he's trying to do. Worked him up pretty bad. I think I killed him.
What did you beat him?
Whacked out. My fist, a pistol, a butt of a gun, and a few beers. Just to figure out what happened to me. I don't know, it's like I could see myself doing it, but it felt like someone else was giving it.
What was the first thing that he said? Or that he did in the truck that made you hit him?
He grabbed my leg and started slanging his hand, and he said, "We grabbed my balls."
When that defense team argued that McKinney did what he did because Matthew made a pass at him, well, I just wanted to vomit. Because that's like saying it's okay. It's like the Twinkie defense, and I gotta kill Harvey Milk with a Stony. It's the same damn thing.
As much as part of me did want the defense of them saying that it was gay bashing or that it was gay panic, part of me was, I'm telling you, part of me was really scared that in the trial they were going to try to say that it was a robbery. So, when they said that it was going to be gay panic, I thought, this is good. If nothing else, the truth is going to be told. The truth is coming out.
Did he try to defend himself against you or hit you back?
Yeah, he tries a little swing, but they weren't very effective.
How many times did you hit him in the trunk before you guys stopped where you left him?
2 or 3 times. 3 times with my fist, 6 times with the pistol.
Did he ask you to stop?
Well, yeah, I was getting the shit kicked out of him.
What did he say?
After he asked to stop, pretty much like was doing was screaming.
So Russ sort of dragged him to the fence, I assume, and tied him up?
Yeah, it was something like that. Russ was laughing at first, I think I was scared.
Was Matthew conscious when Russ tied him?
Yeah, we asked him to turn around, he was scared to read my license plate number and tell the police. And I asked him to read it, and he did. That's why I met him more times.
Just to be sure. So you obviously don't like gay people.
No, I don't.
You say you hate them?
I don't really say I hate them, but once they hit on me, then I get pretty aggravated. Is he gay, dude? Not really.
So, answer me one thing. Why did you guys take his shoes?
I don't know. I'm not gonna see my son again.
I don't know. You're probably going to go to court sometime today.
Today? You're gonna drag me there and plead guilty or not guilty today?
No. You're just going to be arraigned today.
Is he gonna die for sure?
There is no doubt. Mr. Shepard is going to die.
So what? You're gonna be 25 to life, let's give you the death penalty and get over with.
And that's not our job. That's the judge's job and the jury.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. We, the jury, impaneled and sworn to try the above entitled case, after having well and truly tried the matter, unanimously find as follows. As to the charge of kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of aggravated robbery, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of first-degree felony murder kidnapping, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of first-degree felony murder robbery, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty. As to the charge of premeditated first-degree murder, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, not guilty. As to the lesser included offense of second-degree murder, we find the defendant, Aaron James McKinney, guilty.
Aaron McKinney was found guilty of felony murder, which meant the jury could give him the death penalty. That evening, Judy and Dennis Shepard were approached by McKinney's defense team, who pled for their client's life. The prosecution indicated that they would defer to the family's wishes as to whether or not to pursue the death penalty. The following morning, Dennis Shepard made a statement to the court. Here is some of what he said.
My son Matthew did not look like me. He was rather uncoordinated and wore braces from the age of 13 until the day he died. Still, in his all too brief life, he proved that he was a real. On October 6th, 1998, my son tried to show the world that he could win again. On October 12th, 1990, my firstborn son, and my hero, lost. On October 12th, 1998, my firstborn son and my hero died 50 days before his 22nd birthday. I keep wondering the same thing I did. when I first saw him in the hospital. world can make it better. Matt officially died at the hospital, Fort Collins, Colorado. He actually, on the outskirts of Laramie, tied to a fence. You, Mr. McKinney, with your friend, Mr. Henderson, left him out there by himself. But he wasn't alone. There were his friends he had grown up with. You're probably wondering who these friends are. First, he had a beautiful night sky, the same stars and moon we used to see through a telescope. Then he had the daylight, the sun to shine on. Through it all, he was breathing in the scent of the pine trees from the snowy rain. He heard the wind, the ever-present Wyoming wind for the last time. He had one more friend. He had I feel better knowing it wasn't alone. Matt's need, his hospitalization, his funeral, focused worldwide attention on hate. Good is coming out of you. People have said, enough is enough. I miss this, but I'm proud to be able to say he is my son. Now, Judy has reported as being against the death penalty. It has been stated that Matt was against the death penalty. Both of these statements are wrong. Matt believed that there are certain crimes and incidents that justify the death penalty. I too believe in the death penalty. I would like nothing better than to see you die. However, now is the time to begin the healing process. To show mercy to someone who refused to show you mercy. I'm going to rank you by, Mr. McKinney. As hard as it is for me to do so, because of that. When you celebrate a birthday, Christmas, the 4th of July, remember, Matthew isn't. When you wake up in your prison cell, remember that you had the opportunity and ability to stop your actions that day. You robbed me of something very special, and I will never forgive you for that. Mr. McKinney, I give you life in the memory of one who no longer lives. And you live a long life. And may you thank Matthew every day. Every day.
Mean hug and everybody had tears in their eyes, and we're all just so thankful. And then Mr. Shepard started crying back on people, and everybody just.
This is all we have lived and breathed for a year. Daily. This has been my case daily. And now it's over.
Maybe we can move on and quit being stuck. You know?
It just hit me. And then I left the courthouse. God wanted me to find him once, so he didn't die alone. Because no, if I hadn't come along, maybe we discovered him for a couple of weeks at least, so it makes me feel really good that he didn't die out there alone.
I'm just glad so. I really am. Testifying in that trial, one of the hardest things I've ever done. Oh, but don't get me wrong. I love the stage. I really do. I love it. But it's tricky when you have lawyers questioning you from this angle, and basically your answers need to be funneling this way to the jury. So what you have to establish is a funneling system. And that's hard for me, because I'm a natural conversationalist. So it's just natural instinct that when someone asks you a question, you look at that person and make eye contact. But it's kind of tough when you literally have to scoot over, change your position, and in fact, funnel over to the jury. But I was able to do that several times over the course of my testimony.
On our last to Laramie, I had the good fortune of seeing Jedediah Schultz for the role of Crier in Angels of America. After the performance, we spoke. I don't know. I didn't for the longest time let myself become personally involved in the Matthew Shepard thing. It seemed low way to proportion, and it didn't seem real. Matthew Shepard was a name instead of an individual. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's so weird. Like, I'm sorry for all those things I said. The person I used to be. That's why I really want to look at those interviews from last year. Like, I can't believe I said all that stuff about homosexuals. I mean, how did I ever make you think that was different?
This is Romaine Patterson.
Well, a year ago, I wanted to be a rock star. That was my goal. And now, now it's obviously changed. The fact that throughout last year, they realized my goal and it was my part. So now, instead of going to school for music, I am going to school for communications and political science. Because I have a career in political activism. Well, actually, I just found out that I'm going to be honored in Washington, D.C. by the Anti-Defamation League. And whenever I think of the Angels or any of the speaking that I've done, Matthew gave me, he's like guiding this path with his life for me to walk down. And whenever we get to a door, he opens it and he says, okay, next step. And if I get to be a rock star on the side.
This is Jonas Lonergan.
Change is not an easy thing. And I don't think people were up to it here. They got what they wanted, those boys got what they deserve, and we look good now. Justice has been served. The OK Corral. We shot down the villains, we sent the prostitutes on the train, the town is cleaned up, and we don't have to talk about it anymore. You know, it's been a year since Matthew Shepard died, and they haven't passed shit in my life. At a state level, any town, nobody has passed any laws. Anti-discrimination laws, hate crime legislation, nobody has passed anything anywhere. What's come out of it? What's come out of this that's concrete or lasting?
We all said we would meet again. One last time. At the fence.
I've been up to that side of my limousine, okay? I remember to myself the night he and I drove around together. He said, Laramie sparkles, doesn't it? Where he was up there, he said exactly where he was up there. Laramie sparkles from there, with a low-lying cloud. It's the blue lights that bouncing off the clouds from the airport and it goes. Right over the whole city. It just blows you away. Matt was right there in that spot. I could just picture his eyes. I could just picture what he was seeing. The last thing he saw on this earth was the sparkling lights.
We spent the last 2 days packing a year's worth of material. We've been to Laramie 6 times. interviewed over 200. Jedediah cried when he said that.
Lawrence wished us luck. And when we asked her how Laramie would feel seeing him play about himself, she said,
I think we'd enjoy it. To show us not the hellhole of the earth would be nice. But that is up to how you portray us, and that in turn is how Laramie behaves.
As we were getting off the phone, she said to me,
Now you take care. I love you.
Doc asked me if I wanted to ghostwrite a book about the whole event. Galloway offered me, or anyone else, a place to stay if and when we go back to Laramie. He also seemed interested as to whether there would be any open auditions for this play.
We left Laramie at 7 o'clock in the evening. On the way to Denver, I looked in the rearview mirror and stayed one last look at the town.
I will speak with you. I will trust that if you write a play of this, you say it right. You need to do your best to say it correct.
In the distance, I could see the sparkling lights of Laramie, Wyoming.
Talking